Carter Krishnaier for Beyond the 90, for the Kingfisher, and for the Florida Soccer Report this morning. Real quickly, I've had a major family emergency, so wasn't able to get to this last night. And as I think Jonathan Starling will discuss on the Third Half podcast today, maybe posting schedules and things will be off schedule this week, but just bear with us. I want to maintain the privacy around this event, so we'll just leave it at that there's been a family situation with me. Was able to watch the matches though, nonetheless, and let's start with Tampa Bay. Manager change on Friday. Still don't quite have an explanation. That's going to be a topic further litigated on the Third Half podcast this week. It's going to be further litigated, I'm sure, on the Florida Soccer Report podcast. The team sheet that the Rowdies put out, and let me pull it up because it was so extraordinary from my perspective. 4-4-1-1 with Cammy McPherson, who has looked poor in the two matches. And one of the matches, admittedly, was under Robbie Nielsen, where he was deployed forward. Has looked fantastic. Has looked like a crack player as a central midfielder, but has looked out of place when pushed forward. Playing as sort of a 10 in this setup. Passius, another good game for him. That's 3 on the bounce with a goal for Passius. He's playing in a similar role to where Cal Jennings played the previous few seasons for Tampa Bay. So he's producing similar numbers. So that's something to think about. It may not just be the individual player, but it may be also who's on that right side for Tampa Bay. Lawrence White, a player that was with the Rowdies 2 seasons ago and produced and helped Jennings. And then obviously Pacifique Nangabiri, who was with the club last year. He had a good match yesterday against Loudoun. So this is the home opener for the Rowdies. This is the opener in their 50th anniversary season. This is at a renovated Al Lang Stadium after the tragedy of Hurricane Helene and then Milton, which made Tropicana Field look inoperable as well. So the Rowdies are on the road for a month. They come back home. They've fired Robbie Nielsen for whatever reason. Still, interested in what the explanation for that is. And they perform abysmally in the first half, but somehow get to halftime 0-0. But they were horrible. They were awful. They were second best that entire half. Really don't have anything good to say about what we saw in the first half. Guillen looks kind of slow and labored as a left back, but he was always kind of a left center back in the setup under Nielsen, right? And now he's a couple years older from when he last played purely as a left back. So he had an awful match. Obviously, we've seen Bodley can't play left back in a 4-man back line the last 2 weeks, but Bodley's still a great option at left wing back. Still, to me, one of the best left-sided attacking midfield players in the entire USL Championship. He wasn't even on the bench yesterday, from what I can see. I mean, I'm not sure who was on. Yeah, okay, I have the bench now. Skinner, Crisostomo. Okay, why did Crisostomo not play? I don't know. Maybe there was an injury. To me, he's been the best player of the first month for the Rowdies, along with Passius, who we mentioned, Rubens Passius. Rubens Passius, good again. Manu Arteaga does not have the pace up top to be leading the line as a single striker. He needs a partner. He and Jennings work so well, or even, Josh Perez did a lot of work last year, even though he didn't produce numbers. Bodily getting forward always would help, and Nyangabiri getting forward would always help Jennings. Anyway, long story short, I guess one positive thing from the match, Campisi made a great save one-on-one, but the inability to clear the ball by the Rowdies back line led to a Loudoun goal. It was abysmal. It was terrible. And another loss to Loudoun for Tampa Bay. Maybe it's a bogey team. I don't know. But this match was not as competitive as the 2-1 scoreline. And really, the thing that I didn't like was this was such an important occasion. 50th anniversary season. First match back at Al Lang after the hurricane. You've just changed managers. The club was flat. The crowd was flat. The team was flat. The crowd was flat. I really don't have much else to say. It was very, very, very disappointing. from my perspective. And granted, my head is maybe in a different headspace because of, as I mentioned at the outset, the family situation. So that's what I observed from that match. And we'll get more into it during the week at Beyond the 90. Okay, good news here from the Florida perspective. Miami beat San Antonio 2-1 in San Antonio. Maybe this is another case of a bogey team. Miami seems, as bad as Miami's been the last few seasons, they always seem to beat San Antonio. But this was a very, very good performance. Bonfiglio is turning into one of the best number 9s in the USL Championship. Young, athletic, pacey, natural finisher, makes the right runs, tucks back into midfield when he needs to. He's now got, 5 goals in all competitions. And he missed a penalty, right, against Tampa Bay. So could have 6. Bolu was class. Maybe he should just stay at center back. Unfortunately, putting him back as a number 6 didn't work that well against Inter Miami. It did in the Open Cup, but it did work okay against New Mexico. Dalton Knutson, really happy to see him get that goal. He's been close to getting goals like that up in Hartford last year. Several occasions he was really good, man marking as a center back. He and Mitrano have played together so much now over the last 2 seasons, facing so much coming in front of them. Both of those seasons, that partnership is really solidified with Mitrano as a left back, Dalton Knutson as a left center back. Was really happy to see Nico Cardona, who I think should be the starting right back, and I've said that in the last 3 or 4 videos. See him get the start, and play really well. So you have, and then in Bill Hamid, who had a very good game again, you have a former USMNT goalkeeper. You have a right back in Nico that I think is good enough to play at this level. You have 2 center backs in Bolu and Dalton Knutson, very experienced. Mitrano getting even better and better as a left back, and now has a couple of years of USL Championship experience going back to his time in Las Vegas as a left back. And the partnership with Dalton and Knutson, very, very solid. The understanding between those two, very good. Left side yesterday, Vasquez was very good as well. Were there problems from Miami FC? Sure. The 2 kind of star players that have been brought in to Miami FC from both with MLS backgrounds, both with Portland, both who had played under Carlos Llamosa, San Antonio's coach, as an assistant coach in Blanco and Milano. Were both Milano was terrible yesterday, awful. Was almost a black hole in attack when things build-up play was quite good. We had a situation where Blanco came on and was felt like 10v11, honestly, with him on. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can be, but because he is such a great player and has such a great personality, big personality, big player in the past. Obviously, great career in Ukraine and playing in Europe with Methylis Kharkiv, and played in the Premier League. And, not many players in USL Championship have played in the Premier League, and was a top drawer player in MLS. But he's just not got it. I didn't think Alan Gavalanis was very good on the right side of a 4-3-3 yesterday. Maybe the better role for him is right behind the front 2 or front 3, as we saw against New Mexico, where he was very good, and late in the Tampa Bay game when he was moved into that position. But yeah, great win for Miami FC. I think this kickstarts Miami FC season, and we're going to see a situation now where you get Indy in the Open Cup. Anything can happen in that. North Carolina next week, who I think is a very good team, who is a player or 2 away from being a top team in the East, in my opinion. But the results haven't necessarily been there yet for them this season. And then a trip to Tampa Bay in the Jägermeister Cup, which looks like a very winnable game at this point. I'm still trying to figure out how Miami didn't beat Tampa Bay. I can't stress how bad the Rowdies looked yesterday, how bad they looked against Charleston, even though I still maintain Bodley's foul for the penalty, which got Charleston going, was a 50-50 call at best, right? We never got a proper angle on it. But the Rowdies didn't play particularly well for much of the Miami FC game. They were awful in Tulsa. And I'm giving them credit for playing well against Las Vegas. But truthfully, they were terrible in the first half of that game. Second half, they were the better team, got the bad break, Campisi's mistake. But Miami can probably beat Tampa Bay. It's the best shot they're going to have. If they're ever going to beat the Rowdies again, this match in 2 weeks might be the time. So we'll catch up with you this week. Again, I really would respect the privacy over our family situation. And we got some exciting things for you. Before I go, we've got some exciting things for you this week. We've got an interview with the Sarasota Paradise owner that James and I have already conducted. And some of this was done in advance, knowing that I might have difficulty this coming week. And then also an interview with Billy Corbin, who I think for non-soccer fans probably needs no introduction, particularly in South Florida. If you're a listener to the Dan Le Batard Show, or if you follow, if you watch The U, or if you're into documentary films or crime or even just local government. But yeah, we got an interview with him about the stadium hustle, so to speak, around Inter Miami, and then also around the World Cup at Joe Robbie Stadium. So we'll have both of those for you this week.